Bros, have you heard what Mr. Brooks has been saying in his meetings? Holy shit.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say, you sent me this article from Occupy Democrats. I'm going to pull it up, right? Occupy Democrats, pay-to-play GOP Congressman Mo Brooks confesses an astonishing on-camera revelation of corruption.
So this is the most real mask-off thing I've ever seen. Can you play the video?
I bet I can. I don't know if you're going to hear it.
That's okay.
Sure, that y'all are very much concerned.
It's 5 minutes long. Probably won't play
about
this
why our Congress is so unresponsive to the regular needs of American citizens. Why some of these policies that come out are so bizarre, so unfair, so skewered against regular Jane and Joe citizens. The reason is simple. Special interest groups run Washington. And I don't mean that metaphorically, I mean literally. Now, here is how it happens. In the House of Representatives, I'll use that as an example because that's where I work. If you want to be chairman of a major committee, you have to purchase it.
You have to purchase it. You want to be chairman, you got to buy it.
And the purchase price
how is that even
for
a thing?
A major committee, say like
how does that? Anyway, I don't know how that works. Who are you paying it to? Who are you buying it from?
The purchase price from the Ways and Means Committee, minimum bid, is $1 million.
Ways and Means, minimum bid is $1 million.
Now, for anyone who doesn't know, the Ways and Means Committee sets the budget for the entire United States government. And they allocate funding for everything. Now, according to this article, those payments are basically funneled through the national committees, both the DCC and the NRCC. In DCC and the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee and the National Republican Congressional Committee. So,
yes,
they charge members a fee to chair a committee for 2 years. Bidding for top-tier chairmanship starts at $1 million, Brooks claims. Now, that top tier, again, is the Ways and Means Committee. It is the most powerful and influential committee in the House of Representatives.
probably the hardest to get on.
Probably
most expensive to get on.
There was a brochure for prices. With at least the NRCC, one unnamed candidate running to lead the National Republican Campaign Committee, Congressional Committee, showed representatives a brochure of his prices, Brooks claimed, explaining that the prospective chief had broken his pricing down into 3 tiers and boasted that he would charge less than other candidates for the chair of this committee. So, if nothing else, he's basically claimed that both the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee and the National Republican Congressional Committee are nothing more than state-level money launderers.
Facts.
And racketeers. That's what this is. This is what the mafia got in trouble for.
Yeah. Hey, just...
I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. You pay me $1 million, I'll let you on the committee.
Yeah, but you got to do this. Whenever I need a favor.
You're going to owe me a favor. So who pays the $1 million? That's what he is getting at. And he's alluding to the, quote, special interest groups. So, hey, I want you to be on the Ways and Means Committee. I will give you the $1 million. I'm Exxon. You're going to make sure that I get my money.
Yeah.
To be on this committee. You're going to make sure that these allocations come through for me.
Yeah. He tells the story in this video. If you get a chance, watch the whole thing. But he tells the story of this other Republican. He says, "Hey, they offered me $500,000 to do this bill, and I turned it down. And so they took their $500. I said I couldn't do the bill because it would hurt the small business entrepreneur trying to gain credit for it, whatever." And then went on the front page of USA Today.
Daddy's my baby.
Hey, cool. Hey, I'll give me just a second, okay? I love you. It's over here. And then a week later, the guy the lobbyist goes on to record and saying, "Hey, yeah, he did that and I did that." But a week later, he was calling me up asking for money again. Like, so
that was
your
the other story you sent me.
Your principles only go so far. A Ron Paul, you are not.
You are not. Thomas Massey. That was the name of it.
Yeah, that was it. Thomas Massey.
And it was in 2016. So the last time something like this came out was in 2016. Thomas Massey went forward and said, "Hey, I couldn't believe it." He was brand new congressional Republican at this point. He had just been elected, and he said, "Hey, this is
Still
weird.
An idealist.
Somebody just offered me a ton of money and said, 'Hey, I'll buy you this committee spot.'" He wasn't even going to be a chair. He was just going to get a spot on the committee. And then what happened is all the Republicans came out and were like, "I can't believe he would say this. Nobody's got enough influence to buy a spot on a committee. We're totally righteous and elect these people." Like, get the fuck out. Nobody fucking believes you. But even the lobbyists were like, "Oh, no, totally." Well, even like you said, that guy was like, "Well, I offered him money, and then he turned it down, and then I offered him some more money, So he called me for more money. Like,
How politics works.
I still need my bill passed, so of course I bought this politician."
Yeah.
Like,
And now he's in my pocket.
and people wonder why AOC shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no, we don't.
I mean,
She got a nice little spot on a committee.
She got a nice little spot on a committee, and now you know. You don't have to wonder anymore. Now you know. You know what's really interesting? I was looking at this when you sent me this article again. Occupy Democrats. I was like, who else is covering this? Is anyone?
No.
And the only place I found it, so a far left and a far right website, a super conservative website, also covering it. So the only people that are covering this story are on the fringes of either side. "Quote unquote" fringes.
Yeah, it should be well, apparently the national news people, they already know that this is what happens.
Yeah. Their companies are probably buying the politicians.
Yeah. And we're going to kill that story. Don't talk about that story.
Yeah, don't talk about this, because we own Jim Jordan or whoever, like Fox News, and we own this lady over here. Like,
yeah, it is, bro.
So what the fuck are we gonna do about this? Is there anything that can be done? Because holy shit.
I think that's what we were talking about when we first found this thing was like, what do we do?
Like, the mask is off. We know how this is happening now. How do you stop it? Short of violent revolution.
Yeah, that's it. Because it's essentially, it is codified corruption.
Like, we have elected all these motherfuckers to get in there, and then they all get purchased up, bought up one by one. So it basically means that anybody who's on a committee, on any committee, is more than likely compromised. How many committees did Ron Paul serve on? Let's look. I'm curious now. Because we know that motherfucker didn't.
But Ron Paul was a senator.
I know.
And,
But I'm
and
sure the same shit happens.
But I think that's why Bernie Sanders ran for the Senate instead of because he was struggling to get on a committee in the House. And I think Ron Paul might have run into the same thing.
Well, Ron Paul was a congressman.
He never was a senator?
He never was a senator. He was the congressman out of Galveston County.
That's right. He wasn't from... You're right. So find that out. Look that up. I'd like to know the answer, too.
It says Committee on Foreign Affairs. Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigations. Committee on International Monetary Policy and Trade. He was the chairman on the subcommittee on Domestic Monetary Policy and Technology. He had also been in office since 1996. Is that right? Yeah, 96. Curious. He always ran as a libertarian, so it would be interesting to see like who he would have paid to try and get on one of these things. Because he wasn't involved with the DCCC, or the RNCC.
Wow.
So I don't know. Very interesting.
It is really crazy. I mean, just the whole thing. But again, like you said, what do we do? What do you do? Realistically, the only thing that you can do is you start with term limits so that these people can't become ensconced in the
But that's the thing. They have to vote for their own term limits.
Yeah, no.
That's the problem. That's the problem with all of this shit. So unless there's like... The only thing I could see would be a convention of states.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be it. You would have to have all the states.
So you would have to
impose a new
start
constitutional amendment.
Yeah, that would be it. And you would have to just start at each state passing the constitutional amendment to set term limits, and you'd have to go state to state to state. There's one of those that's going around doing that to end Citizens United, to pass a constitutional amendment to end Citizens United.
That's been going on for...
It's been going on for like...
Whatever.
Well, like they've been running for 5 years, and they've got 6 states on board. Wait, hold on. Let me find out. It's called Wolfpack. 11 years. They formed in 2011. Hold on. Holy balls.
I got it pulled up here. I got the wiki.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's what I pulled up too. First convention call in Texas 2013. Passed its first call in Vermont. As of 2019, 5 states have passed the campaign finance.
Vermont, California, Illinois, New Jersey, and Rhode Island.
And that's it. That's it. 11 years. That's as far as they've gotten. So you'd have to have that same type of doggedness to go to each state, because you'd have to get 2/3 of the states to ratify, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You would have to have unrelenting doggedness, but you could do it, because you'd have to sell it by, it doesn't really affect the state politicians, it's just the national politicians.
Yeah, you want to
type
make
thing.
sure you keep a handle on what these national politicians are doing to your state. You really need to, get in on board with this.
Yeah.
Limit.
But I honestly think that'd be the first step.
Takes
Um,
34 states to call the convention and 38 to ratify any amendments that are proposed. So yeah, 2/3.
yeah. Honestly, that'd be the only way to go. And then from there, once you have that, then you would get the idealists in.
Oh, here's something interesting. The first I searched, it was a conventionofstates.com. There's a petition. Say, I support the Convention of States, a national effort to call a convention under Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution restricted to proposing amendments that will impose fiscal restrictions on the federal government, limit its power and jurisdiction, and impose term limits on officials and members of Congress.
Wow.
These people have signed... who's your leadership? Rick Santorum. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, never mind.
Jesus.
Lord. Sean Hannity's on board.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
Definitely not about this.
Yeah, no, because they want to limit government spending. So,
Oh, well, that's why. They wanted their own deal because Mr. Cenk Uygur,
it's Uyghur.
Uygur,
It's Jank.
Cenk, Mr. Cenk Uygur is the founder of Wolfpack, I see.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we want our own.
Yeah. But it's really just in Citizens United. Like that's the goal of that specific pack. Now there are other progressive pledges, you know what I mean? But that's that. Yeah, you are. Hey,
Mommy
Batman.
got me that.
Oh, nice. Give me just a little bit, okay? Which is why I don't think you should combine things like that. You know what I mean? So if you want to do term limits, that's all you do. You know what I mean? Because then you get into the political horseshit that comes with a lot of that thing. If you just say term limits, then all people can get on board with that.
Yeah.
That's not a hard sell. Well, to regular folks.
Yeah.
To their own people that benefit and profit from that, then yes, that's a harder sell. But if you just say, I just want term limits.
That's
or
it.
you just say, get the money out of our politics. If you just say that, like it's easy.
How would you
know what I mean?
even write it in as a constitutional amendment? Because like I can't imagine that the shit that they're doing is legal as it stands. They just own the fucking legislative and executive branch. Like the people that should be punishing these crimes work for them.
Yeah. So
it's not like the Capitol Police are going to step in and do anything. So
I think the only way to do it is publicly funded elections. Nobody wants to hear that. That's honestly publicly funded elections, and or you can say, every citizen gets X amount of dollars. And you can send that to a politician of your choice.
I think that would be a better way to do it rather than publicly funded elections. I had that idea when I was a kid, like when I was like 16, thinking about it, like how do we, blah, blah, blah. Like why can't we just say, here's a public pool of money and this is it. This is all that is for public elections. But the question is like who decides who the candidate is? And I think that that
If
makes
you just say, this is my X amount of dollars, right? Even though it's a public pool of money, like you said, but I get this much of that pool, and I
right.
want it to go to this person.
Yeah, and so like that would be better than saying like there's just a public pool of money for elections
And
for
whoever
whoever
wants to
signs up
run,
for it, right?
yeah.
Because then who's going to decide who can sign up for it, right? And I think that
Right.
that enters into kind of like this fucked up atmosphere of either A, people trying to game the system to just get a little bit of money or whatever, or B,
Right.
like it becomes the selection of the candidate is really where all the backroom dealing comes in, and you got to get rid of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think your idea of like citizens have little vouchers or whatever, and they say, all right, I'm going to put all my money for this candidate, or for these races, these are my choices for my public,
Right.
donations. Because, you're talking not just president, that's obviously the one that you're thinking of, but you've got like
No, I mean,
1,000
all of
people you're electing for all of these
Right.
things. Who the fuck are you putting your $5 for your like county clerk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. I mean, then but if you think about it, excuse me, 300 million people in the U.S. I mean that's kind of gonna go how you think it's gonna go, I guess.
Well, you've only
there's a
got
lot of money.
the highest turnout rate was in 2020, and it was 165 million people.
Right.
So I mean, and that's the highest turnout rate ever. Percentage numbers, period.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
So I mean, you're not going to get 300 million people deciding on like where the money goes. You're going to get like 50% of that 165 million people that actually go and like fill out the paperwork to do whatever the public funding is. And you know what that means? It means less bullshit political ads on TV.
Yeah. No shit. So my question is though, so let's go back to this Mo Brooks thing where they're paying. Who do they pay to get on these committees? Does it go to the DCCCC or the NRCC?
So this is an interesting thing. So the
Who are
Occupy
they paying
Democrats
that money
website
to?
names only the RNCC. He serves as a vehicle to funnel money being paid to these for these committee assignments. Now, where that money goes after that, it doesn't really say, but it gets funneled through the committees. This one names them both.
Yeah. From the far right website?
From the far right website. Now, obviously, Brooks dealt with his congressional
But
candidate.
yeah, well, and I get that because he's like, yeah, the Democrats are doing this too, but he mostly says this is my experience on our side.
Right.
Like
This is what we're doing.
but I guess
So it gets funneled through something. Now maybe it goes into their committee slush funds. I could see that happening, and that's why it's so important to be Speaker of the House, so you can name people to committees, right? So that means more money going forward from all your special interest buddies to get on your committee.
So is it going to Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi? Like, is it going to who? You know what I mean? Like, does that money get funneled through the DCCC to Nancy Pelosi? Like, does it just go to fund?
She's got a cut for the big guy, 10% for the big guy. I don't know.
Right.
How else the fuck did she make bajillions of dollars on a congressional salary?
Well, because she's an inside trader. They all are.
That.
Yeah, there needs to be another amendment to end that shit. Like, it is. Like, honestly, I could go through probably 5 to 10 policies that both regular folks, both Republicans and Democrats, left and right, could all agree on, and it would be like, okay, term limits, get the money out of campaign finance, too, get the money out of that shit where they can't legally bribe our politicians. 3. Number 4, uh, 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 what was the one we were just talking about? Oh, they can't, no insider trading. Number 5, you can't have a job on K Street after you're done with your term in office. Like, you can't work there. It's illegal. You can't go work on Wall Street or fucking K Street.
Can we just burn
That's
down
what I
K
think.
Street?
Bro. Well, and it's so funny because a lot of people who are the ones that write the bills are the lobbyists, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is they're generally the staffers that work for the people that were elected. So these staffers are the ones that have the degrees, that are they're the smart ones in Washington, right? They're the ones that keep they're like, no, motherfucker, you can't do that shit. They're the ones that keep their Congress people on point. They write the speeches, they do all that stuff. Well, then, because they get sick of the politicians that they work for, they then go and work on K Street. They go work for these lobby groups because they are the ones with the degrees. They're the ones with the smarts. They're the ones that have been writing the bills all along any motherfucking way. And so they go and they make way more money on K Street as a lobbyist. And so, like, they're honestly the grown-ups in the fucking building, where the politicians are the children. And so that's the issue that you have there, is they're the ones with the brains to write the bills and do the shit that we have to have. I mean, they can make real money there. They intern for the office, and then they go make their money in the lobbies. Yeah. Yeah. They're not trying to affect real change. They're trying to make money. And they're the grown-ups. They're the mature ones. But they're there to do a job, and that job is to make money or do what their lobby wants them to do.
Right.
And
Make
they're
other people
smarter
money.
than the fucking
Yeah.
politicians, so they do whatever they want. You broke up, I'm sorry.
I was saying, yeah, they're there to make money and make other people money. Make sure other people
Yeah.
get the money.
Yeah. And they're the smart ones. Like I said, like what do we do from here? Like our system is crazy, man. Like this is what we have wrought. And so people are always going to find a way to exploit the system, and that's kind of what they've done, is they've exploited and loopholed and figured out ways to make the powerful people more powerful.
What did was it Franklin? Was it Benjamin Franklin who said something along the lines of like, democracy is the worst system in the world to operate a government under, but it's better than all the other ones we've tried. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I heard a recent debate where somebody was saying that, like, you know, when you have a divided country, policies are slow. Like, you don't have, you know, one person coming in and saying we need to do this, and this. It doesn't work like that. You know, progress and things of that nature move at a glacial pace. But that's how you have to do it. Otherwise, you're not. It's not a democracy. Like it's a autocracy, or it's a, you know, monarchy or something like that, where it's a dictatorship, where it's one person making decisions and we're going to do things his way, and that's what he said. You know, is what it is. And if you didn't have that, then we'd be changing our identity every 4 years. Like that's why we have the checks and balances. That's why we have those things in place to make sure that we're yo. It's almost time anyway.
Yeah.
But at any rate, there are lots of things that are going to have to change, and in order to do that, I honestly think constitutional amendments are the way to go on that. Otherwise, like you said, they're not going to vote themselves out. They're not going to vote for less power for themselves.
Yeah.
It has to be done to them.
I am 100% guilty in voting for my financial interest.
Right.
That's what I do. Like it's. Oh, this person's gonna make sure that I can continue working. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna vote for that.
Speaking of financial interest, bro, I got my tax assessment for 2022. $60,000 increase on my assessment.
Mine was 40, but I have a smaller house than you do.
$60,000.
So you're gonna go protest that?
I need the bubble to pop.
You got to protest, and even if you just say, I've got the form right here next to me. Even if you just mark it as like incorrect appraised market value, like you're just like the house isn't worth that much. I mean, mine I can argue like, look, my roof needs to be redone, and the fence. I tore down the fence, which was like $3,000. So I mean, at least knock that off. Like you can't.
I don't have that. We've done nothing but increase the value of this house.
I know. But you should also look at all the houses around you. I don't know if yours is the most or least expensive on the block.
It's the most.
Yeah. So if it's the most expensive on the block, then you can at least argue that point. Like this is not the going rate for this market here.
It is though. So like the neighborhood, when we moved in here, because it's a new neighborhood, when we moved in, the houses were being advertised between $200,000 and $300,000. Now they're being advertised at $350,000 to $450,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the market on this house. And honestly, if I were to sell it, I could probably get $50,000 more than that. But then I'd have to buy another house for $100,000 more than what it's worth.
Well, I mean, it's the same deal. Like when I was looking at that other job up in Frenchville.
I mean, I don't.
And I told him, I was like, I'd have to buy a house. It has to make financial sense for me to even consider this move. You have to pay me X amount of dollars for me to buy even the same house that I have currently, the same square footage. You're going to have to increase your annual salary by $30,000 for me to afford this house.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, we can't do that." And I was like, "Well, I can't come work for you. Like, it's just it doesn't make sense.
Make financial sense.
I'm not going to lose money to come work for you. You're not making more anyway because they promoted me, but
it's bananas. Like this. Yeah, I needed to go back to normal.
But you know, until we can stop BlackRock and Vanguard from buying up houses in every area of the states, that probably won't happen either. You didn't hear about that?
Criminalized landlords. No, I have.
Okay.
But that falls under my whole landlords are worthless.
Yeah. I think in Houston they've bought up whole neighborhoods and shit. Like.
Oh, they have here too. Like you can't find a house in our area right now that has, like, all the lots have already been sold. Like they're already sold. Every single lot.
It's fucking ridiculous.
They haven't even started building it, and every single lot is sold. And a lot of them are the Vanguards and the whatchamacallits, landlord people.
Yeah.
Anyway,
even
it's my
lame
wife's
ones,
birthday.
Oh, tell her happy birthday.
I will. So I gotta get down before she gets
Yeah,
the
it's
kids
that time.
and
10 o'clock.
yeah. So, yeah, I'll tell her happy birthday. And yeah, we'll do this next time.
All right. Later, bros.
BroPartisan. Thank you for watching this episode of BroPartisan Hacks with Reese and Rob. We really, really appreciate you watching, tuning in. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to us. We're putting out content as often as we can. Share it with your friends. Get it out there. Get our names out there. Also, hit that bell, tap that bell right there so that you can get updated when we put out a new video. Rob and I are trying to pump these videos out as often as we can. However, we both have day jobs, we have families, so our schedules have to line up so that we can make a new video. Speaking of our day jobs, our opinions and views expressed are our own and in no way represent those of our respective employers. Thank you. Thanks again for watching.